from there. The days had flown by. Don was back at boarding school, and there were not many weeks of the term left. On this particular day, English class was in session at Lucy's school, and the teacher was ready to make an important announcement. "Have you wondered who won the prize for the summer holiday essay?" she asked. "I'm ready to announce the winner. Lucy, will you come forward and receive your prize?" Lucy could hardly believe what she heard. "Your prize is a book token, a gift certificate, for buying a book to use at the bookshop in Eastbury," her teacher explained. Then she read Lucy's essay to the class. When Granddad and Gran learned that Lucy had won the contest, they were so proud of her. "You really are like your mother," they said. Lucy was eager to show the essay to Mr. Smith, the writer who lived in the hotel belonging to Don's father. Don had introduced them, and Mr. Smith had gone with them on a hike in the woods several times. Gran suggested that perhaps Mr. Smith could help her select something from the bookshop with her book token. Lucy had been to the hotel and had read some of Mr. Smith's writing. He had seen some of the short things she had written, but nothing as extensive as this essay. Lucy took the essay to him on Saturday. He was pleased with it. "That's the way, Lucy," he said. "Write the things you have seen and heard, and people will enjoy reading them. What are you going to buy with your book token?" "I don't know," she answered. Gran thought perhaps she would suggest something. "I'm going to the bookshop soon. Do you think your grandparents would let you go with me?" "Oh, I'm sure they would," Lucy said with excitement, looking forward to that time. Don was still away at boarding school, as she had to wait for a weekend when he was home to tell him about her prize. When he came, he was glad to know about her winning essay, though he had something else on his mind. "I've been thinking about your getting to see your dad, Lucy. Let's talk about some ideas. But just between us, I don't think we should say anything, even to Mr. Smith. It will be better that way. No adults to stop us." Lucy confessed that she had been thinking too. "There is a guide camp on Whitsun weekend," she confided. And that Whitsun weekend was like Pentecost, the way I understand. "And I have signed up for it so I could get away then. We would leave early Saturday morning and come back Sunday afternoon." "Great," Don exclaimed. "Instead of going to the camp, you could take the bus to Eastbury and the train to Greening. You would have plenty of time to go to the prison, visit your dad, and get back on the train on Saturday night." "But I'm not supposed to return until Sunday afternoon. Where would I stay until Sunday afternoon?" "Well," Don said, thinking out loud, "I've got it. There's an old barn where we keep a horse behind the hotel. I'll put a pillow and blanket there for you so you can sleep there for the night. The next day you can just wander about Eastbury until it would be time for you to take the bus home." There were other problems. Where would I get money for the train fare? Gran will give me the money to pay the weekend at camp, but that would not be enough for the train ticket. "I'll give you some money. I've been saving to get a new bike," Don offered, "but I'm not sure if that would be enough either." They sat there just thinking. "I know," Lucy said. "I'll ask Mr. Smith to buy the book token I have for the bookshop. That should give me enough money for the train." A few minutes later, after some more thinking, Lucy had another thought. "What will I say when Granddad and Gran ask about my time at camp?" "I'm afraid, Lucy, you'll just have to tell them where you were. Anyway, it will be over then, and you will have seen your father. There's nothing that wrong about going to see your own dad." "But I just can't tell them," Lucy cried. "Well, it's up to you," Don said patiently. "I can't do any more for you. It will not be easy, but if it were my dad, I'd try it." There were 2 weeks to go until guide camp. Lucy's mind was in turmoil. She could not think about anything else. Her grandparents noticed that something was wrong. But when they asked her about it, she assured them that everything was just fine. They decided that perhaps she had studied too hard for these last weeks of school. "The weekend at guide camp will be good for her," Gran said to Granddad. What they did not know was that she took her book token to Mr. Smith when she visited him later that week. He looked at her in surprise when she suggested that he buy it from her. She could see that he was disappointed. "But Lucy, you shouldn't sell your prize. Why do you want me to buy your gift inquired. I just need the money really bad for something. Please, Mr. Smith, I really do. Can't you tell me what you need it for? Lucy shook her head no. Do your grandparents know? Not yet. I expect they will later, though, she answered. Is this something for you or for someone else? Mr. Smith continued probing. For someone else. There will be no school on the Monday after my holiday weekend. I will come and tell you then, she promised. It's nothing bad, honest. Does Don know? Yes, and he doesn't think it's bad either. Well, all right, here's your money, but I'll keep the book token in my drawer until you come and tell me about it, for you really should not sell your prize, he said. The next week flew by. When Lucy came home from school on Friday afternoon, she found that Gran had laid out all the things needed for camp. She knew that she would really not need any of them. She could wear the guide uniform, but would have to carry the other things in her suitcase until she came home again. The next morning, after gulping down her breakfast, Lucy said, I promised Mary I'd meet her at her house, and then we'll go on together. Telling her grandparents goodbye, she left with a note she had written Mary. It read, Tell the leaders I can't come to camp. I have to go somewhere else. Lucy. I'll just drop it in the post slot in Mary's front door, she thought. After doing so, Lucy caught the bus and was on her way to the train. 2.5 hours later, the train reached Greening. When Lucy got off the train, she had no idea where to go. She saw a lady selling flowers. Can you tell me how to get to the prison, Lucy asked. The prison, love? It's not far. Go to the corner and take bus number 8. It will take you close. Then ask again. She took bus number 8, but she discovered it was going the wrong direction. She quickly got off the bus to wait for another going the opposite direction, but it was a one-way street and she had to go up to the next block. There went the bus around the corner. By now it was after lunch and she was hungry. She found a little shop, had a sandwich and hot chocolate, and was back on the street in time for the next bus. Lucy was anxious as the bus pulled away from the curb. Will I have time to see my father and still get the train back to Eastbury on time? She wondered. But Lucy just had to keep going. The prison is at the top of the street, next to the church, the bus driver explained. Lucy rehearsed what she would say when she saw her dad. I don't care what you did, Dad. I'm your girl, and I've come. Standing nervously before the prison door, she rang the bell. A voice called, Hello? Hello, Lucy answered. I've come to see my father, John Martin. He's been here about 9 years. I'm his daughter, Lucy. Sorry, it's not visiting day today. And anyway, children are not let in alone. Tell your mom to bring you next time, the voice replied. Then it was gone. Lucy pounded and kicked the door, shouting at the top of her voice, Don't go away! Please don't go away! I don't have a mother! Please let me in! He's my father! She heard footsteps approaching from the other side of the door. A key turned in the lock, the door opened, and a man wearing a cap and a mustache stood before her. Well now, he said, what's all this about? It's my father, Lucy tried to explain. He's here, and I've come all the way from Eastbury to see him. Please let me in, she pleaded. The man took her into an office, seated her in a chair, and said, Now tell me all about it. And Lucy did, everything from the very beginning. Wow. And I know he's a bad man, or he wouldn't be here, she finished. But after all, he is my father, and he wants to see me. He said so. The man went to the desk and opened a file drawer. John Martin, he said thoughtfully, looking at a card. You know, he really wasn't a bad man. In fact, he had such a good record that we let him out early. He's not here. He's been out of prison for 2 months. And we'll end there.